Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi. Today I will share with you the criteria for a good presentation. First, among the things that you need to know about a presentation is that it is always about you and not about the slides. So what's important is about the message that you aim to convey to the audience, and it's about what you know, your passion and your delivery to the audience, to the examiners of that particular proposal or any kind of presentation that you are going to do. And it is about you delivering your expertise. For example, when you're doing your presentation for the proposal, it is what you have understood about your project, from what you're reading, your literature review, what your hypothesis, the aims and objectives that you've set forth, and the problem statement that you think needs to be delivered, needs to be solved, and the research questions that rise from this problem statement. All of this needs to be conveyed to the examiner, and it is about this, not about the slides, but the need to convey this in a well and proper manner to be able to be understood by the examiners. So you need to have the grasp of the content that you are delivering, and always put your ultimate goal in your mind, which is for the examiner or for those audience inside the room to really understand what you are trying to say. So that is really important. So the assessment criteria for your research proposal presentation is this 5: attire, slide design, content, presentation techniques, and time management. So I will go through one by one of these criteria. So the first is attire. So you need to wear a proper attire to be able to present well, at the same time to be able to be assessed right. So you need to dress appropriately, and for this proposal presentation you need to follow the IIUM and professional dress code, wearing your ID as well as wearing a proper dress according to IIUM's regulation. So it is good for you to wear a formal attire and having a formal appearance during this presentation. Nevertheless, a formal attire doesn't mean that you have to be uncomfortable. So dress comfortably, and you need to be able to breathe and feel comfortable wearing this dress or attire. So for example, if you think that wearing heels, for the ladies, for the sisters, you think wearing heels is something that would give you confidence, you may be able to do so, but if it's not comfortable, you're not used to using it, or maybe you wearing a bit of the wedges shoes. So if you don't think it's comfortable, just forget about it. So you need to be able to wear something that you feel comfortable and so that you feel confident. So if that's something new, or if you've never used to wearing a jacket or a blazer, you need to feel it first before you wear it to the presentation. So for you to be able to breathe and feel comfortable, and then you will be able to be confident during the presentation. So do a dress rehearsal. Consider your props. If you need to bring a pen, if you need to bring something by your side, please do a rehearsal so that you are comfortable with what is going on surrounding you. Or if you need to wear something that you think is meaningful, a good luck charm, not a superstition, but a good luck charm. For example, that's your favorite tie, it's something that your mother gave or somebody special gave it to you. So please do so. That would give you an additional or bonus or a boost of self-confidence during that day. And always check in the mirror before you go to the presentation, and make sure that you are confident and you feel that you control the stage, you will control that particular moment. So that is very important. Try to use the mirror, try to practice in front of the mirror, wearing the same thing that you'll be wearing during the presentation. Slide design. The slide design assessment will be further divided into 3 main criteria, which is the background, your graphics, and the font choice and formatting. So let's go one by one. So for your background, you need to have a proper contrast. A common mistakes is that your slides and the background does not have a proper contrast. I'll show you in the next slide among the examples. So the text and graphics should have high contrast with the background, and that enables it to appear floating and it doesn't blend into the background, so that the examiner or the audience can be able to read the text and not just it being mixed up and blended with the background. It's really hard for the examiner or for the audience to read. So if you think it's really hard for them to, they're frowning and they have difficulties in reading, so that means that your most likely your fonts are blended with the background, and it's hard for them to really grasp what is the written font in that particular slide. So there's two color schemes that would work best. For example, dark background with light text or graphic, or the other way around, light background with dark text and graphic. So that's two color schemes that you may want to choose. So for example, this one is a dark background with light font. As you can see, that is easily readable and it's comfortable in the eyes. The second one is a light background with dark font, so it's a yellow colored background with dark font, and easily you can capture the words. Avoid flashy color schemes, green and fluorescent green, so that is very bad for the eyes. So uniformity and logic in use of color scheme and font. So it should be uniform, following one particular theme and one design, and that it helps and enables a better or a much comfortable experience for the audience. This is an example of those hard to read fonts and background. So dark background with dark font, light background with light font, flashy color scheme, so fluorescent green and fluorescent red. And then color scheme and font are too varied, so you're using different fonts and different color schemes, and it makes it very challenging for the audience to read and to grasp what you are trying to deliver. Colors actually can evoke feelings, and it brings certain emotions to that particular reader. So for example, the use of black is suitable to convey heavy, mournful, highly technical or formal or even death experience. Brown is a bit more earth, simplicity, for those outdoor feeling. Blue, a bit more peace, tranquility. Purple is about royalty, about wisdom, and sometimes about mystery. Green is about nature, feeling of environment. Health is about use of reptiles, insects. Grey, red is a bit more passion, excitement, love, heat, and it gives a sense of aggression. Orange is about warmth, about expansive, flamboyant, and so on and so forth. And maybe white about purity, cleanliness, and simplicity. And these are among the feelings or emotions attached to certain use of colors. So if you think during your presentation you require these combinations of this added value of emotions, I don't think it would be a problem if you would want to implement it inside your presentation, but use it very carefully. So graphics can be very good in presentation, but you need to be cautioned when using graphic or pattern as the background. If background is not one in a uniform shade, so it's difficult to pick a contrasting text. For example, in this particular figure that I'm showing to you, so if it's not uniform shaded, there's different shades of colors, it's very difficult to pick a contrasting text. So the text somehow can disappear into the background. So it's very difficult if you're using this kind of tone and then suddenly you have a text in front of it. So be cautious in using graphics on your slide. So font choice and formatting is really important. So there are beautiful right fonts. For example, the first part, beautiful, elegant calligraphy fonts. But if it's in a distance, and that's the common way of or nature of presentation, it might look a bit gibberish. So somehow it might be beautiful for your eyes when you're writing it in front of your computer, but when it's in the form of a presentation, it might look gibberish from a distance, and that is not good for your assessment. And a simple classic font is better for readability. It's very simple, and a person can just grasp what you're writing. A rule of thumb is that you keep font size slightly large. About 24 points size is something that is works best in any kind of presentation. So when you play the size, this would be a very good range of font size. In academic study, avoid whimsical fonts. It just seems less professional. A rule of thumb, avoid Comic Sans. It might put you into a bit of a playful mood, but it's really not good for a formal proposal presentation. So word density also should be taken into consideration. So number of words per slide should be maintained as low as possible. So enable to maintain the overall gist of that slide. It is a bad idea to read from the slides verbatim, meaning you read one by one. So the audience can actually read faster than you speak. So that's a very bad idea, if you are reading the total slides. So just maintain and keep on just putting the main points of that particular sentence or the story that you want to deliver. So just give the point form, not point form, I mean the points or the gist of that particular narrative, that statement, and then you deliver and you explain to the audience, not reading to the audience. So your PowerPoint is meant to support you, not making it. So you are the one should be delivering the statement, not the PowerPoint making that statement. So make sure that you understand this. So this is a really bad presentation. So this is all of that, a classical bad presentation. It is a mix of use of colors, and the fonts are really small with wordy sentences. So this is a very bad idea for the proposal presentation. Okay, now the assessment criteria on content. So first sub criteria under the content is organization of information. So your organization of information needs to be accurate. It needs to be free from any factual errors, and it needs to be supported by facts. So whichever you put a certain fact, that for example you put statistics which would catch the attention of the examiner, put some information or citation of that particular fact, so that it shows that you take this from a credible source. Spelling and grammar is also important, because error in spelling can deliver different meaning. So for example, this photo that I'm showing you, illegally parked cars will be fined. So what's the problem with this photo? It's just missing a D, a letter D at the end of the word fine. So it should be fined, not fine. So now just from reading this, a person will think, oh, illegally parked cars will be fine, will be just okay. So even though, yeah, I think everyone should be should know that this is a spelling error, but you imagine how if that person does not know what you are trying to deliver, and the spelling has spelling mistakes, and that can change the point that you're trying to convey to the person. So what you can do is triple check and go through with a friend. So when you're doing a practice presentation, try to project it or in a bigger format, or if you can, try to use a projector from the department. Try to practice, or you play on the Zoom or Google Meet, so that your friend can check, and usually another person will be able to find our mistakes. So knowledge also is being assessed, so you should be able to demonstrate thorough knowledge of that particular topic. So your conclusion is thorough with application and implication, and your presentation answer all questions with thorough, insightful, and additional information. So there will be also question and answer after the presentation. So whenever you answer, you need to be able to show to the examiner that you understand what you're trying to present. So this would give you high marks for the knowledge. And at the same time, you need to be able to present and deliver all these subtopics inside your presentation, which includes introduction or an overview, the background, a bit on literature review that you used to put that narrative of your research, and the research question that you used or the theoretical framework, and then a bit on the method that you'll be using, results if any. I don't think you'll be having any results yet. Discussion, conclusion, and reference. That would be for your future presentation. But for your proposal, you need to be able up to methodology and also some milestones and others that are important for your delivering of the proposal. So the audience wants to hear about your research, so you need to be able to tell them and discuss the literature which you are using to be able to directly engage with the examiner. And the background information should only include what is absolutely necessary. So for example, if you are giving a 15-minute presentation, by the 6 minutes you need to be discussing your data. So this would be, I'm also telling you about the proposal that once in the end of your presentation next year, you should be able to also show this. This actually would work on the progress presentation. So because this will be the only time that I'll be delivering you about presentation. So this will work during the progress presentation. If you're given 15 minutes to present, by the 6 minutes you need to be discussing on your data. For your proposal, you don't have any data. So if you have 10 minutes of presentation, you need to be able to present the introduction. You will be given a bit more time to discuss on the method that you'll be using, and then the milestones or what you'll be planning to deliver and to complete the whole process of your presentation. So the slide before this I showed to you is important to cover all those introduction, the research question, the objectives, hypothesis, so on and so forth. What you have inside your written proposal, that will be similar to what you will want to present during the proposal. So including the milestones, so that you want to give the examiners a sense of feeling that this research will be able to be conducted be conducted in a timely manner. This will be able to be completed, it's practical, and it is enough for your level as an undergraduate student. So you need to be able to determine your key points, choose the right visual representation. If you require pie charts, graphs, or timelines to capture the examiner or the audience attention, you need to use that. And talk the audience through an infographic. So that's even better if you can be able to use infographics in your methodology, for example. So you will only have one slide of method, but you show the infographic so that the audience or the examiner can be able to actually understand more, because images are processed much faster compared to text. So, and at the same time, it gives that emotional engagement with the audience. So, and the data can be more meaningful and sends a clear message instantly. So use images wisely, because with that short amount of time, as well as short with loads of information that you want to convey, use images to help you and to facilitate you in this process. This is actually my one of my achievements when I did my PhD. So I won the best oral presentation during the higher degree research student conference. So that was actually a very good achievement, and I won quite a sum of money, about I think 500 to 600 Australian dollar, which was quite shocking for me at that time. And Alhamdulillah, due to a good presentation that I practiced about, I think 2 months I prepared for this, and every week I presented it to my supervisor and my lab mates, showing this during my weekly research meeting. Every week actually we had a weekly presentation on Wednesday. So this is the time when I presented. I took about 5 to 10 minutes and I received feedback. So I continuously prepared and amended the slides until this is the outcome of that process, alhamdulillah. And this is some of the slides that I presented. So I think this was a very good slide. The background of my research was summarized in about, I think, maximum of 2 slides to give the literature review of what my slide was about. So this is the background about cardiovascular disease, and it goes down to the treatment of atherosclerosis. So there's some infographic of what it is, and then I went into deeper about the that very technical aspects of my research about what are the enzymes and the genes that were involved in increasing the chances of a person to get atherosclerotic plaque. So this was a bit of some infographics that was used and some figures from experiments that was related directly to my study, and this conveyed somehow the overview of my research. These were also some of the, if you can see the figure in the middle, so this summarizes the significance of this study. So if you can see, TGF-beta is a hormone, and the signaling pathways is the one that I'll be solving. And if you can see the outcome, finally, atherosclerosis is what will happen if there is improper upregulation of the GAG synthesizing enzyme, and this can be prevented if we understand the signaling pathways that results in this increase in enzyme and eventually upregulating or causing atherosclerosis. So by identifying the signaling pathway, we may be able to find a therapeutic target to prevent it. So this is somehow the brief overview of my research, and this is how I convey to the audience. Some of the data that I use, so bear in mind that you can use shapes to highlight the points that you want to highlight. For this ones, when I play it on the PowerPoint, so there were movements where it captured, it highlighted the points that I wanted to focus on. So put proper titles on your presentation and use some cartoons to deliver. And always, I think it's best to use to put acknowledgements in your presentation if you have time. This is actually one of my team that helped me. So I put acknowledgements. People like acknowledgements, showing that you appreciate certain people's work, especially when you finished a particular research, or you finished your undergraduate. If you are being given a time to present, so put acknowledgements in your presentation. Okay, so the fourth criteria is presentation techniques. This is further divided into 4 aspects: elocution, speaking pace, posture, and eye contact. So this is important. Now, elocution is a style of speaking, especially in the public. It's a form of speaking in pronunciation, grammar, style, and tone. This is all, and the principles of elocution involves articulation, where you articulate the words, accent and emphasis, meaning the accent of English, for example, at the same time emphasis. When there is a word that you need to emphasize, you go a bit more slower, and you speak and you say or mention the words a bit more louder, So that is emphasis. So the voice that you use, using lower register in your tone of voice, for example, in certain instance where you want it to be sounding a bit more serious, and the use of gesture. So this is all under the principles of elocution. So speaking pace, it is important not only to be heard but to be understood. So you need to speak in a pace that is that can be understood by a certain person. So a person does not only want to hear but needs to be understood. So that's the reason why you need to talk in a proper pace. Sometimes you can go fast, but sometimes you just need to go slow so that a person can digest your words. There's nothing worse than hastily rattling down your presentation, going too fast. If you think you are just going too fast, you might have not practiced a lot. So if you just really need to reduce the numbers of information, do so. So it's better to give a concise presentation rather than just hurrying and then giving no point and no emphasis to what you are trying to highlight. Speak a little slower than you normally speak when conversing. This is kind of a rule of thumb. If you are naturally a fast speaker during presentations, try to speak a little bit more slower. So fast speech is like fine print. You find a publication that is small and it's easily to ignore. It's similar to that, reading something big fine print and sometimes just miss some words or information. So it's easy to ignore. In oral presentation, that is quite similar. So for habitually talk fast speaker, the most natural way for punctuation is when you reach a breath. So take a breath in certain end of statement. So that would naturally allow you to have some pace. Use breaks to focus and think of your next word. So try to strategically put some breaks in your presentation so that you can stop for a while and then think of what your next words would be. Sometimes the speed is not just the main issue. The constant speed is also what causes a problem. So it just likely can frustrate or bore the listeners. The listeners just bored to listen to a continuously same constant speed. It just undermines the natural physical aspect of speech. If you imagine and you can see that the speech is speech is anatomical. It is produced from our voice box, and so you can see that it changes by the way of how we the size of it. So that's, and you can imagine how speech that is being given or conveyed in just a constant manner, it's just not dynamic and as flexible and as organic as a human being. So just give a think up on that. So speech is physical because it comes from the body, and speech literally embodies the idea. So make it more molded to the idea itself. So bring the ideas, thoughts and logical onto the physical plane. Punctuate your speech by varying your pace and pauses. Okay, now posture. So to project effectively, you need to have a proper posture. And I think your proposal presentation will be delivered online. Nevertheless, it's good for you to know that when you have the chance to present face to face, you need to have a good posture. Even actually during proposal online presentation, you need to be able to have a good posture. I understand that when you're sitting, you just couldn't change that much, but try to have an upright position, not to crouch to the front or not too laid back. So good posture helps you in conveying professionalism, confidence, and authority. So people are more likely to listen. And try to stand shoulder width, shoulders back, and chin level. So you can imagine the spine is like a string. So you have your spine, and so it's you imagine someone holding above your head like a puppet. So and then your body will be straight. So that is somehow how you want that your posture to be. So this is a good example or a photo. Swaying makes others comfortable if you sway to the back. And lordosis or chest too hard, chest out. Yeah, that's as if you're trying too hard. Slumping just shows that you are insecure. And forward head when you are presenting sometimes makes people or the person in front of you feeling a bit uncomfortable, as if you are invading their private space. So just try to be more relaxed and to obtain a better posture. So the Superman figure over here is trying too much. The far right, the guy in black is slouched too much to the front in showing no confidence, but the guy in the middle is just right. So not trying too hard, not slouching, but he's just right. Make eye contact during your presentation. And actually don't just make eye contact, make eye connection. So try to spend time with each person. So I think this works out best when you are presenting in a classroom or in a lecture. So try to move around and look at one person to another person, and the people will feel like you are talking to them. So there are two major benefits of making an eye connection is that genuine connection just give that sense of you are caring about the reaction of that person. You care about how people listen to you, and you care about that people giving the audience giving you attention. So you want to give the best to them. So that's why you are having that connection, and it's as if you are having a good conversation with that person. So that even gives that person or the audience to be able to feel more easy to listen and to engage. So you need to see the people and somehow shrink the room belonging to you and that person. And you actually need to have some experiments during that process to find out how long it takes to make a genuine eye connection. So you have to be able to move to one person to another at appropriate time. And I think the way to know this is by identifying their reaction. So sometimes if you have too long eye connection, that person might just start to look away. So that teaches you, or that signals you to maybe move to another person. And just don't be a lighthouse or a tennis umpire. So tennis umpire, they just move like that, and a lighthouse, they just go like scanning left and right. So that is not you. So you need to go, if you want, once to the left and then to the back, and then you go back to the person in the front. So move organically. It's actually a process of you sharing your experience, sharing your the message that you want to share. So make it something enjoyable to you and to the reader. So at the same time, of course, respect people who feel uncomfortable. If you're looking at that person too long and you've been looking at that person throughout the whole presentation, so respect them. They might feel uncomfortable. So stop looking and maybe go to another person. So hand gestures can help a lot, but sometimes if you're trying too hard, it just feels and looks awkward. So keep it in a space. If you can imagine a box, so keep it just below your shoulder and also the lower barrier or lower boundary would be your waist. So that would be the best area for a good hand gesture. Not too much, like maybe a primary school children storytelling, that would be too much, but just give it to a very small area of hand gesture. So finally, the fifth criteria for assessment is time management, and this is important. You'll be given 10 minutes, so that will be the common or usual time. I don't know whether this year you will be given extra or lesser time. This needs to be, you need to ask Dr. Arif, the coordinator, regarding this. But time management is important. So because why it's important? Because it is a contract between you and the audience. So the audience knows that 10 minutes would be the time allocated for me to listen to this particular presentation. So you need to find out how long it takes to deliver that particular material. So that's the reason why practice is really important. Time yourself early in your planning process. And so if you start with trying to arrange what you want to present, you have the material first, and then identify how long it takes. If you have done editing to become perfect, to edit it more, to reduce the time would be challenging. So just have an overview first on how long it would it take, so that you don't get attached too much to the whole material that you've already planned for. So make it you understand how much the material that you'll be showing or delivering to the examiners and audience. So write a time schedule for your presentation, and when you do your final rehearsal, it would be best for you to time how long for one particular subtopic. For example, for your background, it's always about 1 to 2 minutes because you think you want to deliver this. So time and jot down. And then your method, you might as well take about 3 minutes to provide, or even 2 to 3 minutes. So make sure that you know all this so that you can effectively manage or switch if you have some difficulties in it, or you use too much of the time in your milestone. You can effectively amend all your previous or earlier subtopics with regards to the time consumed. So write down your sentences. If you are somebody who sometimes stumble upon the sentences, you can write each and every slide, write the full sentence, so that you don't waffle during that particular presentation. So during the planning, you can write each point as a full sentence and not a bullet point, so that you can express properly what you want to get across. Sometimes it's best for you to do this because you have identified the specific words or that would somehow provide a good overview, or have managed to provide everything that you want to say in that sentence. So write a full sentence, and then you choose only the points that you want to convey and put it in the slides. So this would be very good, and practice only that sentence so that it will be very smooth during the presentation. So it's much better for you to do your thinking before presentation rather than during the presentation. So it's good for you to be able to find the best statements or the best sentences beforehand, and not during the presentation. So have a clock or timekeeper during the presentation. So you can always glance at your watch during the presentation, so that you will be able to understand how much time you have, and if you want to increase a bit the speed, or you want to drop certain sentences, and so on and so forth. So keep to your time limit. A general rule of thumb is 2 minutes per type double space page. So in 2 minutes is common for a double space page. So it's common that you'll be delivering about 2 minutes. So if you want to reduce the amount of points in that particular slide. So for a 15-minute talk, you should have no more than 7 double space pages of material, so that in one slide you can be able to explain and to highlight certain points, so that you can finish up to that 15 minutes. So sometimes I understand that people just want to put only one figure, and that's okay. So, and you can just go through the figures very swiftly. But the rule of thumb is that 15 minutes for with text. So it's common that you should have no more than 7 pages. So it depends on you. You will be able to understand and see this with proper practice and planning. So practice. You need to practice your presentation in full before you deliver it, and ensuring that your presentation fits with the time parameters. And practicing also makes it flow better, and you will be delivering a good presentation. So I think that's all for this particular presentation or lecture. I hope you will have a good presentation during your proposal defense, inshallah, and I wish you good luck. And if there is anything, you can contact me, and I'll provide you with some of the solutions or answers to your questions. I think thank you. That's all. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.